What's going on, Cats fans? It's Ben Reeve here, and the one and only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Paul James. How you going, Paul?
I'm well, and I'm not even going to object with that overly.
You like that one?
It's just congratulatory intro, I guess.
It's
not self-congratulatory at all.
You are a legend, mate.
Closed doors, eh?
You are a legend, mate, and I think we're gonna save this for the end of the show, but. For those that haven't seen the video you put out the other day, please tell us about the big news that you've got. You've been invited somewhere.
Yeah, the AFL.
And not a third birthday party. It's actually something a little bit more exciting.
Thankfully, no third birthdays on the horizon for a little while. The AFL invited me to the launch of AFL 23, the game. That's in about a week and a half from now. Now, we'll stress, because we've seen it in the comments section, the game launches on April 13, but there is a launch event where they're kind of showing off a whole bunch of stuff, revealing a few things. And presumably that's when I'm going to be able to potentially get myself a code and start doing all my reviewing stuff on the Player 2 side. But also some content creation. Oh, mate,
I didn't even think about that. Yeah.
That's my... You've jumped on a good co-host here, mate.
So you're going to rub everyone's faces in it?
AFL people, they're going to be waiting until day one and then I'll start putting their videos out, but we will have it from the moment, whatever that embargo happens to be, that I will be unable to declare publicly nor break. But whatever that date happens to be, Cats fans, people who subscribe to the Hoop Show, you are going to get an absolute shitload of AFL 23 on our channel, and it will be largely nowhere else. So
and back to the launch though, you're going to be mingling with some AFL types, some other celebs.
Yeah, don't know who yet, but
we don't know who, but having a bit of some canapes and some wine or whatever, a beer maybe or two. And
look, I won't declare the venue, but I doubt it, considering where I know the thing to be. But there is a red carpet. So.
I think there was a bar there from memory. I'm not going to say it either, but anyway, we'll get on with the show. We'll get on with
the same place, right? Okay.
It is some pretty good news, and I was very happy for you. And I remember getting the message, and my George had hit the floor, and I was like, "Oh my god, Paul's going to love this." So good on you, mate.
It's just one of those really weird things. Like I get lots of these sort of PR invites and event invites through my game stuff, but this is a really unique spot where it's the two loves coming together, and it's the AFL that's sending the invite out. So it's a real privilege. I'm really excited to be going, and expect to hear a whole bunch post March 22nd, and then whenever the game's embargo's up, I'll be going for it then as well.
It's fantastic. All right, well, let's get on with the show. So thank you for watching. If you haven't already, please subscribe. I think we just ticked over about 617 or something like that. So we had a big jump in the last couple of days. So thank you to all those new subscribers that have jumped on board.
But today, AFL 23.
AFL 23 did it for us. We've got heaps of this. Is just the start of 2023, everyone. We've got a big year planned. And so this is our second Sunday night show, actually. So this will be an actual... this is going to be a preview, I should say, of season 2023. So we're going to start by having a bit of a look at the list. Some new players coming in, players going out, a couple of injuries that are happening at the moment, coaches that we've got coming in and going out as well. And what else? I think that's about it. Some milestones are coming up this year too. Then we're going to jump into what we think is our best 23, if we had everyone available, that kind of thing. And then we'll talk about our predictions for the Cats for this year. What we think we're going to finish on the ladder, what the end result's going to be, who we think are going to be probably our most improved, and all that kind of stuff. And then we'll finish off with a couple of things. We'll finish off with some AFL or league-wide predictions, and then we'll close out the show with some news that's been happening during the week as well, which I've already spoiled some things on the AFL 23 stuff, but I could not resist, Paul.
Don't worry.
I could not resist. We had to talk about that off the top. That is pretty big news. And there's heaps and heaps of content coming out of this show in the next few weeks. So thanks for that. All right, so let's launch into it. So I'm going to look at my iPad here. So we've had a few. I think we all know by now who the ins are, but if you haven't really been keeping up with the news of the Cats during the off season, which a lot of us don't, but there's been some. We've had about 8 or 9 new players coming to the club. I'll talk about the outs though first. Higgins and Dalhouse. Time was up. They moved on. Thank you for your service. But it was time. It was time. Sadly, we lost Cooper Stevens to the scum, but
turns out he was a hawk anyway. So
he was always a hawk. The sparkle narkle is no longer sparkling. I think he's playing a bit of VFL footy, possibly for Essendon. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
I'm not too sure, but that was a bit of a shock, actually, considering it seemed like he was felt like he was a walk-up for that final Richmond spot, and then they picked someone else.
It didn't happen. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. bloke. Can't remember
Frank
his name.
the
He used Frank the Tank. There's another bloke that used to wear number 14. I don't remember his name, but he's moved. Yeah, what was his name again? He played a couple of games. Joel Selwood, unfortunately, moved on. Moved on from playing days. I think we talked about last week, or maybe during the midweek show on my Wednesday update, that he's got having a bit of a role with the club now. I don't know what that's going to be. Yep. But that'll be exciting to see his face around the club a little bit. A couple of other players. Nick Stevens, I think he was...
Gutted about that one.
Nick Stevens gutted, really? Okay.
Yeah, it didn't... everything I'd heard had been really good. Yeah. The bits that I'd seen had looked really good. So I was a bit shocked that the club dropped him.
And don't think he got picked up elsewhere, but that was a bit of a shame. You mentioned Francis Evans, the Tank, Zane Williams. Zane Williams went out in a bit of a huff, but anyway, if you're watching Zane, we'll always love you. Once a cat, always a cat. But yeah,
I actually don't blame him in the slightest. It's not a Geelong.
It's not really.
Thing. It's an AFL. It's an AFL issue, but
Paul. Sapatolis, is that right? Did I get silent T? Yeah, Paul's another one that's moved on. So they're all the players that are missing, all gone. Clearly Selwood, the big one there out of that group. Bit of a shame to lose Cooper Stevens. He could have been anything really. So, but the players coming in, as we've spoken about a few times on the show, is Jack Bowes, Tanner Bruhn and Ollie Henry. We've got Jai Clark coming in as well. He's our number one pick, or not our number one, but our highest draft pick. Phoenix Foster, Ted Closey. I'm going to go with Teddy for him because I can't have two Closies. I won't do it. Can't do it, won't do it. Oscar Riccardi, who we've had on the show, and that episode is dropping very soon. I'm sure you'll talk about that as we close the show out, Paul, so I'll save that for a little bit later.
Are we leading with Oscar Riccardi in the end?
I thought we might be, yeah.
And back end tells me, but anyway.
There you go. Oscar Murdoch's another one, and Oisin Mullen, Mr. Sheen himself. So there's a few names coming in there. Who of that group excites you the most? Is it the established players, or is it maybe one of the young guns that hasn't jumped out yet and had a go?
I mean, no. I think in these sorts of scenarios, like, people, regardless of who they support, are naturally going to be wired to show a bit more interest in the known commodities. So like it's Bowes, it's Bruhn, it's Henry. They're the three that are the obvious front runners in this respect, and it's simply because we've seen them out there on the field. We know what they can do already. So. And amongst that trio, for me, it's Tanner Bruhn.
Yeah, I like Tanner.
I'd love for him to show a bit more energy when off field. I'd love for a bit of personality in his media work.
He doesn't show a lot.
He gives nothing.
I'm sure away from the field, he's just got that focused look on his face when he's playing footy, which sometimes looks as though he's not enjoying it or he's having a good time. But I'm sure he is. I'm sure that's the way he goes about his business.
I can't wait to one day get him on behind the play, and I'll try and crack him like an egg.
Tanner, mate, we want you on the show. We want to ask you some questions about your mental health.
Like an egg, mate.
We'll open you up. That sounds really wrong. But yeah, no, look, I'm probably most excited about Ollie Henry. I think he'll have some really good games, and he'll have some games where he'll probably be a bit invisible. That'll be the way. That's a bit like that sort of Gary Rowan type role, unless he's kicking goals. The heat will come on him a little bit from the fans that get frustrated, but he's very exciting, and I think he'll probably be a number one. He'll play week one. Don't think he's in it. I'm not saying he's in our best 22. I'm not going there just yet, but sorry, best 23. He's in there from now on. But I think he'll be there round one. Paul. We've got a few injuries though. Tom Hawkins was training today at the open session, running some laps. Jack Henry's out for a bit, as we know.
Midterm is their title.
Yeah, midterm. I hate the term midterm. Sam Manigault is another one that said midterm. What does that mean? No one knows. It's a mystery.
7 to 8.
7 to 8, whatever.
That's how I read that. 7 to 8 weeks.
7 to 8, possibly 16 weeks. I don't know. However you want to, what a range you want to apply to that. But Mitch Duncan's just come back on the plane today or yesterday from South Australia. He's having a bit of a freshen up over the border there. Shannon Neal, I think he's running again, and Toby Conway might be show a bit of patience with Tobes.
Yeah, he's going to be an absolute gun, but yeah, they just need to get the body right.
I think so. I think we just got to be patient with it. Now, a couple of milestones, Paul, and I've got a long list here, just for the pace of the show. I'm not going to sort of dwell on too long. But a couple of the bigger ones. We've got potentially the big T-Bone, Tommy Hawkins playing his 350th game later this year, and maybe becoming second all time. He probably will become second all time. He needs to get 333 games to become second all time at the Catters. So wouldn't that be special if him and Joel Selwood were the number 1 and 2 during the two players from that era?
Yeah, I mean, I think when we talk long term, Tom Hawkins is at the end of his career. I think he'll be the most capped cat. I don't think I think he'll overtake Joel at the end. Well, he's only about 30 or so off the pace now, so it's a season and change.
That's true.
So he will be the most capped cat, which setting aside all the love that we've got for Joel and Tom and everyone else who's kind of been in that, Boris and Jimmy and all those sort of boys that have been up there north of 300. It's rare that you see tall forwards in that sort because their body lets them down at points. Yeah. And Hawk really hasn't had that outside of some back struggles early in his career. He's not lost a lot of game time.
He did have those struggles. We thought, because he lost a lot of his agility for a while there, his lateral movement, but I thought that might have been the end of it. That was quite some time ago now. It probably feels like about 10 years ago.
12, 13, 14 window that would have been.
Yeah.
And he was still kicking 60 a year regardless.
Exactly. He's a freak, isn't he? So that's a big one. He could be nudging 800 goals as well. Not that that's probably the biggest milestone, but there's not many players in AFL that kick 800 goals in footy. So that's a huge one. And if he does, and probably the biggest one for me, if he wins another premiership, he'll join Selwood as the only Cats with 4 premierships. So there's a few things. There's the romance of him and Selwood. I personally would love them to finish on the same number of games. Clearly, I want Hawkins to win a premiership and all that kind of stuff, but I think it'd be a bit of a Mark Taylor moment when he retired, same as Don Bradman, 365 runs, and I'm done. Pull the pin on Stumps time. But yeah, no, it'd be nice. It won't happen that way, but it'd be nice if he won a 4th premiership. Now, a couple of other bigger milestone games. You've got Mark Blitzarves playing his 250th, maybe. Cam Guthrie, the hairless Cam Guthrie, which should have been on our agenda to talk about. It was late breaking news. He's shaved his head. What is going on? The Jesus.
He's shaved it or he's just cut it back?
I believe, and I haven't. He was wearing a hat at the time, but my Edward Scissorhands senses tell me that it's all gone. I could be proven wrong in coming days.
Check into social media to have a look.
Well, you might have to, but I did run a tweet of him. I shared a snapshot of him without the hair, with the hat on. Shit. He looks like he's got nothing left. So got a bit of the facial hair going still, but the rest of it's gone AWOL.
Yeah,
unless that's a very, very deep undercut. Possibly.
I mean, that with the amount that he had, that'd still be popping out the sides as a result.
It's bulging.
That hat is...
You could get a hat on him.
Right on.
You'd have to have a beanie. He normally rocks the beanie, doesn't he, when he's training? I'm pretty sure pre-season's gone by, he's done the beanie. Look, the other two big ones for me would be Reece Stanley. Imagine Reece Stanley playing 200 games. Would you ever have picked Reece Stanley to play 200 games of footy and being a premiership player? And Gary Rowan with all his injury history and being a bit of a whipping boy over the journey. Those two are a chance to play 200 games as well. So there's a lot of big milestones there. Danger, 150 games of the Cats, but we won't. I might post a few of them on the Twitter and I'll share a few more of them.
Things like Danger hitting 150, which is obviously that's imminent. He's played 149 for the Cats now, but he will over the course of the year become more capped at Geelong than he will at Adelaide because he played 154 over there.
Exactly.
So he'll officially, in all senses, he's obviously won a premiership with us. He's won a Brownlow with us, but now he'll be more capped at the Cats as well. And so any debate as to whether he's an Adelaide Crow or a Geelong Cat gets put to bed about 5 games from now.
I agree. Mate, what is we'll do some best 23s now. So I'm going to let you go first. Now, I don't know how you want to go about tackling this.
We would just want to work from the back line. I've got everything sort of back line, half back, centre. I've got it all kind of positioned like that.
Let me just pull up my notes. But if you want to start with your back line, I think that's probably a good way to go. So we'll go with the backs and we'll see. Let's see how many we get exactly the same. So I've gone with 6 backs, just so you know.
Yeah, okay. So I guess I'll go the whole back half then. So my back 6 is, and this is again assuming everyone is fit.
Assuming they're all fit, correct.
That's the lens we're putting across all.
Not necessarily a round 1 team.
Yeah,
best team throughout.
But if we were to bring this team, if we were to go to the grand final, this is the team that I'd be bringing, for example. So the back 6: Jed Buse, Sam De Koning, Z-Bang Guthrie, Mitch Duncan, Jack Henry, Tom Stewart.
No Asava. Okay, I've got De Koning, Jack Henry, Asava, Radigalia. I think he's done enough. He probably will have done enough by the end of the year. Tom Stewart, Z-Banger Guthrie, and Jed Hughes. So I do have Mitch Duncan.
But you just position him elsewhere.
I have Mitch Duncan? Yes, I do have Mitch Duncan. I've just got him elsewhere. So no, don't have him. Don't have him in that role.
My process was look at the grand final team and then adjust from there.
I've actually got Mitch Duncan on the bench. A little spoiler there. All right. Shall I go first with my midfielders?
Yeah, go to centre line.
Yep. All right. So I've got the Blitz, Mark Blitzarves, Max Holmes, Tom Atkins, Reece Stanley, Paddy Dangerfield, and Cam Hellis Guthrie. He's got less hair than his baby brother now, and his baby brother can't grow hair. Yeah. Anyone different for you in that group?
So my centre line, I'll kind of go across and then deal with the ruck rover situation.
Sure.
Isaac Smith, Patrick Dangerfield, Max Holmes. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Danger doesn't really matter because he's in the centre, so like you can kind of centre, ruck rover, whatever.
Yep.
It's all the same.
Yep.
Alongside Danger in the middle, you'll then have Stanley, Guthrie, Blitzarves. I went Blitzarves in the middle because I initially put Blitzarves on the wing, and then I took a look at Isaac Smith. I'm like, oh, hang on, he's not going to play in the centre.
Yeah.
This is a pure wingman who doesn't want to get touched by anyone. So we'll have to pop him on the outside, and so fix that up pretty quickly.
Okay. Well, I didn't have Isaac Smith. This is very controversial considering he's just won a Norm Smith medal.
You didn't have him in the 23.
I've got him as an emergency when it's all said and done. That was probably the toughest one for me. I just couldn't quite get him in there, unfortunately. But we're pretty close in that regard as well. All right,
yeah.
You jump in with your forwards, and we'll.
All right, so the forward six: Stengel, Cameron, Close, Rowan, Hawkins, Myers. I feel like that's a pretty
Rowan, Hawkins. Well, I've actually bumped Rowan for Ollie Henry when it's all said and done towards the end of the year. So that one would probably be I don't think it'll be a massive outrage with that call. I think you could almost flip a coin on those two because Gary, is he going to hold? He's getting older. He's still probably first picked, I'm guessing. But, will that be the case towards the end of the year? I'm not sure. So I went with Ollie Henry in that position. Now, I
feel like 23 would be the last season where Rowan is kind of the obvious pick for him, and then 24 becomes Ollie Henry's spot. So. Yeah,
exactly right. So I love Gary Rowan. It's one of my favourites actually, but I just do feel like this might be the year that age catches him. I hope not, because we're going to win a premiership. We just need these guys to hang on a little bit longer, don't we? So, look, my interchange, and I've already mentioned interchange. Sorry, I should say. I sound like an American internet. The interchange, I did say, includes Mitch Duncan. I've also got 5 on the interchange.
Yeah, we've got 5.
5 now. So we've got Mitch Duncan, Zach Tui, Brandon Parfitt, Tanner Bruin, and Jack Bowes. I imagine we're going to have a little bit of difference here.
Oh, there's a name that unless I misremember, there's a name that you've not shouted out that I'm shocked and appalled that you've not named. So my bench, there's a couple commonalities. There's Zach Tui, there's Brandon Parfitt. I do still have Ollie Henry in my team. He's just on the bench.
Okay, fair enough. Yep, he's in the squad. Yep.
Tom Atkins.
Did I mention him as a midfielder? I did mention him. He's in my midfield.
Okay.
So we had come on. We have got the axe. We're not dropping the axe.
And I've got. It's not. I guess my personal pick, but I think it's what's going to happen. Mark O'Connor.
He's not in your team, or he's in the team.
No, he's the 5th on the bench.
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay.
And I feel like that's the case. Like they've got him there. Like he's in the leadership. I assume he's still in the leadership group. Like they see things in there. And you don't bench you don't sideline your leadership group typically. He's done nothing wrong.
Not really.
Either, so
I mean, he's slightly down on the year before. I think his 2021 was a bit better.
Yeah, I do agree with that.
But it's pretty. It's like in the days when we were picking on Shannon Burns, or not me, but people were picking on Shannon Burns because 2007, like a super team, and there's one guy that's not as good as Stevie J or Gary Ablett Jr. or Jimmy Barr. It's like, goodness me, but they're absolute guns in any other team. So, mate, I think, did we mention, and if either of us mentioned Jake Kolodashny? Have we both got him missing?
So I did pick emergencies, and he's one of the emergencies.
I've got him as an emergency as well. I've got Mark O'Connor as an emergency, Gary Rowan as an emergency, Jake, of course, and the big one, Isaac Smith, as an emergency, which many people watching this show will probably disagree with me on. But I'm just going with the age equation on that one, and I just feel like, I don't know. Are you strongly against that one? Are you prepared to take your headphones off and walk out of the room and call it a night?
About Isaac Smith.
Isaac Smith, are you done?
I mean, look,
are
I'm
you
obviously
furious
opposed
about
to
that
it
one?
because I'm not furious about it. I can understand the logic, but at the same time, the guy did just win the Norm
Well,
Smith,
that's
so I'm
the
not gonna...
problem. You've got to make a big call sometimes. So I feel like that's... Look, I had some unlucky players.
To be fair, I don't think he had any bad games last year either.
No, he didn't really. No, he actually...
It's not like he was on the slides, had one good game in the grand final, and that's kind of papering over a bad season. He had a fantastic season.
He did. He had two
bobbed
best on
up with some
grounds.
really important moments, and best on the grand final. Well, he wasn't best on the grand final. I think that was Paddy Dangerfield. But
I think we all agree on that one. But you know, he was another game.
I get it.
Yeah, it was early in the year. He was a best on. Like some other unlucky players that probably will play games this year. Not say they're not going to play at all, but they weren't.
Well, I'll quickly jump in with my emergencies before you throw it out.
Oh, sorry, you haven't done the emergencies. Yeah, sorry, mate.
My emergencies were Cole Jasny, Bruin, and Bowes.
Bruin and Bowes. Okay. Not there at the end of the year if we make finals. Yeah. Okay. Look, I don't think I'm not objecting to that at all. I just probably feel like
all of it's that same logic as Ollie Henry. Really, it's that I expect that they will get plenty of game time. They'll be close, but if the 23, if the squad remains fit, they're 2024 players really.
So I've got them all in. I've got all three in, I think. So, I just found. I think did I have anyone on the bench? I think I had Tanner Bruin and Jack Bowes on the bench, just making it. Just shading a couple of others. These are the unlucky ones for me, and I didn't ask you to come up with a list of these, but I imagine some of these will be on your list because I haven't heard them being yelled out. Sam Menengola, fortunately, I think just bit of bad luck. I feel my heart breaks for the guy.
Well, he's injured again at the moment.
He's injured again for the medium term. Shannon Neal, I feel like he's just gonna. He looks like he could be anything, but I just don't feel like this is going to be his year.
Well, he gets in if Hawkins or Cameron goes down, but otherwise...
Of course he does. Of course he does.
If you're talking best 23,
we're talking best 23, no injuries, a perfect season on the injury front. Sam Simpson, another one that is probably back to fitness again, but I still feel like he's behind a few others in the pecking order. But he did look good in some of the footage I saw today, running around. He looked very impressive. Ollie Dempsey's another one that I think... I really want him to have some opportunities because I don't want to lose him to another club or delisting or anything like that. But I think he's very exciting. Jai Clark, let's play the long game with Jai Clark. I think he's carrying a bit of a foot injury at the minute anyway, but even though he had a run today. And Toby Conway's the other one that I think they really want to get games into him, but will he be picked over Reece Stanley or someone like that on grand final day if we make it? Fingers crossed. Don't know. Anyone else I've missed there that's like you think's really unlucky to?
Well, for me, because he didn't get a gig in my 23, and it was an emergency. For me, Asava is that one that's right on the fringe there, and the only reason that's the case is because he's a tall.
Yes.
It's the position problem there. If we didn't quite have that level of versatility that we do, and when I say versatility, I mean in case of emergency, throw Blitzarves down there if you need.
That's right.
Then then he would be at the very least an emergency, but because they've always got that versatility available to them, they don't have to upset the apple cart a little bit to throw him in the team. Not that he'll be, he's not going to be a bad addition if we need him.
No.
I'm fully faithful that he's still going to remain on our list and he's going to be a starting, again, similar sort of deal. Maybe 2024, that's when he starts to push through as Hawkins gets real close and injuries start to kick in and, we start using Blitzarves in different ways and all those sorts of different things.
Mate, have we used Blitzarves in every way known to man at the moment? We haven't.
He hasn't played full forward yet.
No, but he kicks goals still.
He still kicks goals. Radagalia is kind of the main one for me. I'm just double checking through the list in case there's anyone else.
There's probably a bunch of others. Look, there's a bunch of guys that have drafted this year that I'd love to see 2 or 3 games get into them.
If
Phoenix Foster, I'd love to see what he's capable of. I'll go to a few VFL games where I can and just want to see some growth. But it'd be great to see some opportunities. It's just going to be hard for these young guys to get some chances this year.
Yeah,
they're going to have to be patient.
Lots of established boys doing some really great work. So that's kind of the nature of the beast when you're a top, a premiership team.
Exactly. But what better place to learn the craft anyway? Mate, let's keep the show moving. Let's talk about some Cats predictions for 2023. Now, would you like to start, or would you? Because the first one I want to talk about is where you think the Cats will finish on the ladder, not what the end result's going to be. I've kind of back and forth this a little bit over the last few weeks, and I did put a show out a while back and had some did my ladder then. But I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to change my mind on these things. Not that
he's decided to put Essendon first on the ladder now.
No, I haven't. No, but let's just talk. Let's keep it on Geelong for the time being. So, where do you think the Cats will finish on the ladder? Not about the end result, not about grand finals or anything like that, but where do you think we'll finish at the end of the home and away?
I reckon they'll be finishing second.
Second, okay.
I'm expecting the D's will probably get the mojo back a bit this year. I don't think I do think the Cats are the front runner still overall, which I guess shows my hand for the next section. But the D's will get their mojo back, and sure. we still have the knack of just dropping a cheap one here there. We do from time to time.
D's have a knack of dropping half a season some from time to time as well, like they did last year. But I imagine that they would have fixed a few things in the off season. Look, I've got the Cats coming fifth. I haven't changed my position on that one. I reckon still 16, 17 wins. There's an extra game this year, so that's probably would have got you a top 4 last year. But I think we'll really be managing some players, and we'll be taking a few extra losses for that reason. So I think fifth. Your result at the end of the season on grand final day. I'm not saying you've picked Geelong to make the grand final. Maybe
no, we're celebrating.
We're celebrating. Okay, so Geelong's winning the grand final. We're finishing second, and
the depth is there. So I mean, we've just kind of highlighted as we've gone through the team there. Obviously, this is a team that just won a premiership and put essentially all teams bar Collingwood to the sword along the way. And obviously, we still beat Collingwood, but it wasn't a convincing one. We put every single team to the sword to get there. And the team has gotten deeper and better, you'd argue, despite Joel's absence. So old age is the only thing that's going to interfere, I think.
And look, Joel wouldn't have got any better this year. He probably would have gone backwards a little bit more. But I've got the Cats being, I haven't changed my position on this either. I've got the Cats being a runner-up, real heartbreaker, close grand final. And I've got the D's. So basically flipping it really. I've got the D's.
I've got the D's finishing first on the ladder, but I don't think they'll make the premiership, the grand final.
Really? Yeah. Well, I must have misheard you. So I've got the D's beating the Cats in a nail biter, which breaks my heart a little bit. So we'll see what happens. We can. What is it? Not many days to go now. We may have a mid-season review video where we might come back together again and review and see if we still sticking to our guns on some of these things, or we might. You can change it. I don't mind, but this is now inked, or not inked. What do you? It's on. It's for public access.
Pencil.
Yeah, it's in pencil, whatever.
Early access. Yeah,
exactly. Your most improved Cat for 2023. Who do you reckon is going to make a big leap? Maybe they've already made a big leap and they're going to make another one. Who do you reckon is the one we all need to be looking out for this year?
Jeez. I mean, the reality is I feel like it's going to be one of the young blokes that we just don't actually see still out on the field all that much.
Okay.
Anyway, I think it's going to be one of those sort of years because of how strong the team is that we're going to see the likes of Ollie Dempsey and those sort of guys absolutely lighting it up in the VFL, but they'll never actually, not never, they'll get a couple games here and there, but they won't really get the chance to crack that 23 that's going to go on and hopefully play in the premiership,
right?
Simply because of the depth that the club has got. So I feel like it'll be an Ollie Dempsey. Certainly all the early reporting would suggest that from the preseason. I could see Max Holmes being that really, I mean, he is obviously a starting 23 player. I could see him becoming statistically, he was the number one wingman in the comp for the back half of the season, which is absolutely insane. Yeah. But he will have bulked up a little bit. And he does seem to have bulked up a little bit. He's going to refine the craft, and he's going to also be coming back with a bit of a fire in the belly, having unfortunately missed the grand final. I think he's probably my number one, but don't lose sight of the Ollie Dempseys and those sorts of blokes that are going to be playing in the seconds most of the year, but are going to be absolutely dominating in that space, I think.
I like that. I like the Ollie Dempsey one. I think you could be right too, that he might have a remarkable season and just be desperately unlucky not to be playing every game in the senior squad. But if he has a great season, that's fantastic because that means that we've got a good one for next year as well, and you just know those opportunities are going to come, and he'll be cherry ripe. Now, look, I've gone with an established. Well, let's call him established. Well, yeah, I'm going with Zach Guthrie. He made a significant jump last year. He was almost out the door. I think it's probably fair to say, and he'd probably say the same thing too. He was one of those fringe players. Is he going to make it? And he really did. And by the end of the year, he would have been one of the first 15 picked, I reckon, in that squad. And he just was. I think he's going to take it to an even higher level next year. So I think for me, he's the big one that will probably make the most significant jump of everyone. But I've got a few other balls to fire, so we'll get that. I'll save that for the next one. Who do you think's going to be all Australian from the Catters? Are we going to have the same number? What did we have 5 last year? Are we going to have 5 again? Who have you got as an all Australian into 2023?
I've got a feeling that Danger's really going to explode again this year.
Really? That's a big call.
Yeah, I really feel like he's ready to rip the comp apart again. He proved it in the finals where the club had given him his time to get the body right, and he came back, spent a couple games just working his way into it, and then when it counted, he just took off. And now he's coming into the season fit. And based on all his media stuff already, the captaincy is absolutely suiting him. So he's absolutely just loving every moment of it, and I think he'll come in and absolutely blow a few teams away single-handed. And that is a byproduct in part because of the strength of the rest of the team around him, the midfield group around him. You can't ignore a Tom Atkins. You can't ignore Cam Guthrie. You can't ignore Blitzarves if they're in, using, I guess, my starting midfield that I picked there.
Sure.
Because they'll get you as well. And so Danger's just going to tear a few teams up, I think, at different points. And I think he'll be awfully close if he doesn't make it.
Okay.
But around that, I mean, your staples, your Tom Stewarts will be there.
Yeah, okay.
Jeremy Cameron and Hawke seem fairly obvious candidates. You'd imagine they will, again, be kicking 50-plus for the year at least. I think Cameron is probably the Coleman medalist at the end of the year.
That's probably him or...
Stengel again?
Possibly. It's going to take. It's hard for the small forwards to back it up. There's a lot of it is being opportunistic, isn't it? As a small forward, I guess
he hasn't missed a beat though, based on the preseason.
No, he hasn't. He's amazing.
Look, and again, the beautiful thing though, yes, there's an opportunist component, but also you've got to have the tall forwards that help facilitate that. And you get lots of gun small forwards in teams where the tall forwards aren't great.
That's right.
And so the tall forwards get completely beaten up in the contest, and so the ball doesn't hit the ground like it should. Whether it's the tall forward kind of bringing it down right in front, or even just getting it to the ground somehow so that small forward can kind of weave their magic.
Exactly.
I mean, we all love Eddie Betts, but he was very, very fortunate to have at Carlton, Fev. He went to Adelaide. He had Tex. And Josh Jenkins and a whole bunch of them could just get that ball to the ground if they couldn't take it themselves.
That's right.
And so, for as brilliant as he is, you could take a lot of goals off his tally if he didn't have those sorts of tall forwards there. So
that'll be interesting to see.
Similar story here, I think.
Yeah, I can't wait to see how he goes.
Not to put down Stengel or Eddie Betts in any way, shape, or form. No. But it certainly helps when you've got some really gun tall forwards to help create those opportunities for you.
Oh, sure does. Mate, look, I've gone with Jeremy Cameron, obviously, as an All-Australian. Tom Stewart, the two safe bets for me. I haven't got Tom Hawkins in that group, but and this kind of leads to my previous point. I've got Zach Guthrie becoming an All-Australian for the first time. I think he's going to show enough. He's another 10 or 15% improvement. He's going to get him over the line, and he'll be. There's always one or two, probably even more than that. They pop up and say, "How he's an All-Australian?" Because you've got to become an All-Australian for the first time at some time. So I think he's got it within him to do it. So he's exciting, and he lays a few hits these days. You don't want to get hit by Zach Guthrie. He's coming for you hard. The other one was Max Holmes. I think I've got Max Holmes there as an All-Australian this year as well. I think he's ready to go. Was he third or fourth year now? So
yeah,
he's ready to let rip. Now I jumped ahead a little bit. I was going to. Sorry, you go.
SDK. I'll throw one more in there.
SDK,
Sam Coney.
Just had him missing again. So
again, Mays and those sorts of guys are going to be about.
Yeah.
But I don't think Lever will be in that conversation anymore. I think he kind of falls off a little bit this year, despite my position on where Melbourne's going to finish ladder wise. And there's no one else that's really kind of dominating their opponents like Sam De Koning has been. And now he's got a bit of a sniff of what he can do going the other way.
Well, that's it, isn't it? Yeah.
And I don't mean just the goal in the grand final, because obviously that was a bit of a Joe the Goose take the piss sort of thing at the end of the grand final. But like he's added a bit of an attacking flair. He's starting to play that kind of Scar like sort of game where he's there and he's a headache to deal with in the defensive end, but then he's willing to go for a run up the other end afterwards.
And just float around and kick a goal too.
Yeah.
I did jump ahead. I was going to ask you before the All-Australians, who do you think will be our Cargie Greaves medalist at the end of the year?
I mean, actually, I think it might be Danger.
Danger? That's probably fair.
I'll go that. That's kind of mirroring my confidence in him as an All-Australian this year. I think Danger might be right there.
Yeah, I reckon I'm going to stay on the Max Holmes thing. I think it'll be Max Holmes, his first Cargie Greaves medal. It'll be pretty close between him and Jezza, I think. But I think Max is going to have a cracker of a year, and we'll take it out. Is the question you didn't put in the actual right up here? We've both kind of like, how sure are you that Jez is going to be our leading goal kicker? Because we've both kind of gone down the same path. 100%.
Walker's now 12 years in a row.
I'm 100% certain. It was only because Jezza didn't have the best grand final. Kicked a couple. Hawkins did kick 3?
Hawkins kicked a few himself. So
yeah, so
and he'd already built the lead at that point.
Yeah.
Hawkins got the job done in the prelim.
That's right. Good kick straight to start with that prelim, but ended up still with like 3 or 4 goals. So, but no, I've definitely 100% take it to the bank. It'll be Jeremy Cameron. The Hawkins, the reign of King of Geelong, goal kicking award is going to end this year. I think I love Tom Hawkins. I absolutely love the bloke, but I also love Jezza too, and I think it's Jezza's turn to take the mantle. Mate, anyone else we've missed that you want to touch on before we start talking about our predictions for the rest of the AFL, which is maybe what a few people are really hanging on here. All right, let's have a look at this now. What have we got to talk about here? Bring that up.
So the top 8.
Top 8. So let's start with top 8 now. How do you want to do this, mate? Do you want to just start from number 8, or do you want to start from number 1 and go down? How do you want to do it?
Oh, I must say I didn't order beyond the top 2.
All right, go for it.
So I mean, my top 2, as I've already highlighted, are the Cats and the Ds, and then you could really throw a blanket over the rest, I think, at that point. So I've got Richmond, Carlton, Collingwood, Freo, the Brisbane Lions, and the Sydney Swans.
Okay,
Dogs missing out.
Pretty similar to me. Dogs missing out. Okay, I've got.
Are Essendon still in your list?
Yes, Essendon are still in the list. I have moved them down the order to number 8. I've got them just squeezing in to the top 8. So I've got my top 2 finishing the home and away is Melbourne and Brisbane. I think most people have probably got Melbourne, Brisbane, Geelong in their top 3. Even though I've got Geelong outside of the top 3.
Well, there's one AFL captain that doesn't think Geelong will be playing in the finals at all.
Someone pushed the wrong button.
Did you see Danger's response to that? He just must have been an invalid vote.
Yeah, exactly. That's fair enough too. I've actually got the Doggies. You didn't have them in the 8. I've actually got them finishing 3rd. I reckon they've still got a bit of gas in the tank, so I reckon the Doggies. And I don't think that'll be a surprise if they finished in the finals for most people, but don't think they're done with you. I think Bontempelli's got something to prove, and we'll have a.
I just don't believe in their backline at all.
No, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
It's non-existent, in fact.
I've got Freo finishing, rounding out the top 4, and then I've got Geelong, Carlton, which I think will probably be around that 5 or 6, and then I've got just closing out the top 8. I've got Sydney dropping off a bit, and Essendon sneaking in there somehow, which I know you're not happy about, but I am going to tell everyone and sundry at the end of the year when they make the top 8 that I was right, and I will never be doubted ever again when that time comes. I
look forward to them making the finals and losing yet again just to keep that streak going, because that streak is already old enough to drink. And we'll just see how far we can push it.
Now, your premier, who'd you have? You had the Cats as premiers?
The Cats.
Yeah, I had Melbourne as premiers. I think we've touched on that. And runner-up for you was, again, remind me.
I didn't mention that before. Okay. So I actually think it'll be the Tigers.
Tigers, okay.
Yeah.
Cats and Tigers, grand final repeat.
Yeah, I'm not all about it. It makes me anxious just the thought of it. But yeah, I think the Tigers might be thereabouts. They've kind of plugged a few little gaps. The only question mark on them is injuries. From the likes of Grimes to the Meatball, Dion Prestia just
Yes.
FYI.
Yes.
And even like the age of someone like a Jack Rewalt and that sort of thing. And he's not a Tom Hawkins in terms of the way he plays his game. So he like when he starts to slow down, he will come back to the pack far more so than a Tom Hawkins will, which gives Hawks some extra longevity.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm that's I guess the injury list and the wear and tear might be the one question mark over them. But I feel like Dusty's going to be back up and about, which will be dangerous for all and sundry.
Geez, Dusty Martin in another grand final. He's won 3 off his own boot. Goodness me. That would give me a lot of sleepless nights in the lead up to that.
If we end up playing against the Tigers, it'll be a horrific week.
Well, I think I mentioned I had Geelong finishing runner-up, so I won't go over that again now.
Yep.
Your biggest jump now, maybe it's someone who's jumped into the top 8, but maybe it's someone who's maybe was a top bottom 4 team last year. Who have you got jumping up the ladder in a big way in 2023?
Yeah, it's no one jumping into the 8 because my 8's pretty sound in that respect. Unless you count Carlton going from 9th to somewhere in the 8. But
9th to 8th.
No, yeah, exactly. No, I think they'll be like 5th. So I don't know. Okay. Maybe that fits the bill. But the Suns for me, they'll make 9th. They won't make the finals, but they will be pushing that 8th spot all year, I think, right. And we'll just unfortunately miss out. But I think they're the one to watch in terms of starting to kind of show their strengths, utilize those a little bit, and then position themselves for a great 2024.
Okay. Well, as you know, I picked Essendon, so I'll stick with that one, even though I'm getting some ridicule for that one. Who have you got finishing as your wooden spoon?
The Hawks.
Hawks. Well, we've both got the Hawks. I can hear the people watching clapping as they're watching this. They're very, very happy that we've both gone with the Hawks. The scum to finish down the bottom, and
like setting aside the bias, they shifted on a whole bunch of their very best players. I
think,
and didn't bring a hell of a lot in as a result. So, like they brought in youthful players that are going to be probably great for them in a few years, but like they're going down the fullest of full rebuilds, and so you've got to go somewhere when that happens.
That's right. Go down, down, down. What are you going to do? It's bad luck. I think everyone else is picking them to be either 17th or 18th on the ladder. So it's not just us, even though it will be celebrating very, very hard, and if they do finish down the bottom. All right, this is the big 3: the Brownlow, the Coleman, and the Rising Star. Which one do you want to go with first?
I mean, let's start Coleman. I said Jeremy Cameron before, that's where I'm at the moment. Anyway, and we'll just see how things shape up from there. I think the body will hold up. So.
Okay, I think Carlton's going to have an improved year, and that's why I think Charlie Curnow will take out a Coleman medal, so his second one. So I don't think it'll be much in it though. I think it'll be pretty
not a crazy
close
choice. Yeah.
No, I think it'll come down to the last round of the year potentially.
And his body.
Well, yeah. So
if last year wasn't a fluke.
No, well, that's the thing. So I think it'll be mostly Jezza kicking all of our goals this year, as I said, but I still think Charlie Curnow is going to do enough with Carlton showing some improvement on the year before. All right, so do you want to go with the Rising Star? We'll save the Brownlow for last.
Yeah, sure.
Who have you got?
Harry
Rising
Sheasel.
Star?
Harry Sheasel from North. Okay. He's already lighting it up in the preseason.
He is.
There is obviously a lot to be said for. What's his name from Brisbane? Ashcroft.
Yep.
There's a lot to be said for Ashcroft, future Geelong player.
Future Geelong player. Sports the Cats, in case you didn't know, people. We're getting him in 2 years' time, 2026, something like that, 2025.
As soon as his contract up.
We've got to get to Conning first, and then we'll get...
It may not even be that long. It may just be a North to Port Adelaide style draft again.
Yeah, true.
See what happens there.
True.
But Harry Sheasel for me.
Okay.
He's going to stick out more because he's in a weaker team. Whereas Ashcroft's going to have those ups and downs when Lachie Neale takes over, for example, or McCluggage does the same or whatever, and like he's going to shrink into the background just a little bit in some of those cases. So,
well, is Ashcroft guaranteed to play? Is he in their best 23 all year round? I don't know. Like they've had a pretty good team.
He will be. Yeah.
Anyway, he probably will be, but they had a good team last year. I've gone with I didn't want to do this. I've gone with a Hawk, Cameron McKenzie. I like what I'm seeing from him, so I think
he's a pick 7. That didn't work. Pick 6. That didn't work out for him all well last time.
It did not, did it? The old Gel sold at pick 7. Thank you very much. But yes, I think I don't know. I don't like to go the number 1 pick generally. It would have been safe to go on with Ashcroft.
Cadman.
Yeah, but I think Mackenzie.
Yeah, Cadman has picked one. He's an interesting one,
Cadman,
actually.
yes, that's right.
Haven't heard too much about how he's going over at GWS, but
Yeah.
he is a tall forward, so there's
exactly.
always the star next to him that it might take a little bit longer.
Exactly. All right, who have you got the big one, mate? On the Monday, if it still is on the Monday before the grand final, who have you got winning, taking home Charlie? Who's going to win the Brownlow?
Took Miller.
He's looking ripped. He's
absolutely. I think he's obviously been right there and thereabouts anyway, despite the fact that he's had a team that's obviously not been fantastic around him.
Yep.
If I'm right in terms of how I feel like the Suns will fare over the course of the year, then I think he becomes almost a walk-up.
What if they don't make the finals? What if it goes the other way? Do you think he'll still?
Remember, I
do enough?
didn't pick him to make the finals, but I think they'll be they'll be far more competitive, and so yeah, I think they'll be split. There'll be more hairs split. There'll be more tight results or whatever. So some of those games that might have been blowouts against, say, us, for example, maybe it's only a 15, 20 point loss or something like that, and so he comes into the picture when it comes to a Brownlow thing. Like those sort of games where you might be clearly the best on ground, but your team gets pumped by 60 points. You usually don't make it. But when that suddenly gets down to a 3-4 goal margin, you start to enter that conversation. So
yeah, that's fair enough. That'll be good.
I think that sort of thing will be what gets him over the line, because I think he's probably deserved it already.
Yeah.
But just not had the team around him, not had the results go his way, and so the Brownlow hasn't gone his way.
Yeah, I think there'd be a lot of people happy for him if he won it. There's a lot of love out there for.
He's
for old
great
Tookie.
bloke from all I see in here. So
yeah, definitely.
Come to the Cats.
Now, this is one that I've ummed about. Is he going to be a top 3 in the Brownlow, or is he going to win the whole thing? And it's my Geelong bias shining very brightly. Max Holmes. Max Holmes is going to win it in his, 3rd or 4th year. He's taking it out. He's going to tear the competition apart this year. Take it to the bank, everyone. It's going to happen. Your next Geelong Brownlow medalist and Carji Greaves medalist is Maxwell Holmes. It's going to happen. What do you think his chances are?
Donuts. Absolutely donuts.
Okay. All right.
Unfortunately.
All right, mate. Well, let's wrap up the show with a bit of AFL news. There's a little bit of Geelong sprinkled in there. We like to sprinkle a little bit of Geelong in as well, where we can. Now, we've talked about your big news with the launch. We won't go there again. Did you happen to watch any of the 2 grand final documentaries? One put out by Foxtel, and the other was on the AFL website, I think.
On the AFL website.
Yeah. Did you
watch
AFL
those? One was only like 15, 20 minutes.
Something like that, yeah. Yep.
But yeah, I've watched both. So,
and did you cry? Did you tear up at all? Did you get emotional?
I was keeping a tally during the Foxtel one, and that was 5 times.
Okay.
So
that's good.
Yeah,
that's good. You're in touch with your emotions. That's good to see.
Gary, Levi, and Joel, and all
you're not human,
those sorts of moments.
If you don't cry about that, you're not human.
Sammy Morefoot, all those sorts of moments along the way. Hell, even the Joel Selwood goal itself, and you see the family losing their mind, just completely losing it in the stands.
Yeah.
All things that I thought I'd gotten out of the system in the afterglow of the grand final, but as soon as it gets brought up again, the tears start flowing.
So. It was interesting to see all his teammates giving him taking the piss out of Joel, saying he couldn't kick 40 metres normally, but he's gone the banana from 45
and done it.
No one thought he was going to kick it, so they're all getting stuck in him. That was nice. And Joel Selwood, you can't put a camera on Joel Selwood without him getting all emotional now. He was pretty.
Yeah, he started to struggle in both.
The whole season, every time someone put a camera in front of him, he started getting emotional. But good on him. Love the bloke. The next piece of news, mate, I'm really keen to hear your thoughts on this. The AFL announced a club championship award, so they're going to repurpose the McClellan Trophy, which historically has always been awarded to the team who finishes the highest in the home and away. But now it's going to be, they're combining the women's comp and the points from the women's and the men's. I think women's are getting twice the points because there's less games. And there'll be a club championship award. I love it. I don't know. What do you think? I think it's a fantastic idea.
I'm all for it outside of the women's games being worth double. I get the mathematical reason behind the whole thing, but I don't know. It might simply be because I looked at the 2022 one and saw that, well, had they not given Melbourne double points, and Geelong would have won both.
Really?
But I think
good point.
Because of that, I understand what they're saying. There's the incentive to try and make sure that both teams are firing on all cylinders, but realistically, that's not often going to be the case for clubs. Because you're at different points in your systems, even to go with this model at such an early stage in the AFLW, like you've got new teams that have still only barely entered the competition. So it's a real disadvantage to someone like a Sydney, for example, they literally did not win a game in the AFLW last year. And that's because their team was in its first year.
True.
And so there's the imbalances that kind of come from that as well.
Okay.
So I'd like to see. I like the idea. I'd like it to pop up 10 years from now.
Really?
When both competitions, you'd like to imagine the AFLW at that point is firing on all cylinders. Like everyone's had the chance to experience the ups and the downs. Teams have gone through rebuilds in the AFLW, but at the moment we look at Adelaide and Brisbane, for example, and they just haven't. Melbourne, same deal. They just haven't dropped it. We haven't seen that cycle through yet, which means that it favors the teams that have been there the longest. Right now, especially if their men's team happens to be peaking at the same time, like Melbourne's is at the moment, like Brisbane's is right now, like we might be, because I think the girls are well and truly on the way up.
They sure are.
And we're obviously going to be right there and thereabouts. So
very excited for the AFLW team to get cracking in 2023.
I feel really good about where the girls are going. So I think, it's kind of the maths teacher in me. It's the equity, like trying to be equitable to all teams thing. And again, there's teams like Sydney, as an example, that they could go out and, for example, win the flag for the men's, but their women's team are probably not going to get anywhere near it. Like they will be cellar dwellers probably because they're in their second year in the comp. Like I don't feel like it's fair. Same with Essendon, as an example. Essendon could be one of the very worst in the whole thing because their men's team's going to be shit house, and you're completely wrong. So their men's team's going to be shit house, and the girls are still in their second year now. Again, they've got Maddie Press-Parkis over there that absolutely helps bolster their team. But like they're probably going to be cellar dwelling potentially in both things, and it's just because the women haven't had enough time yet.
I say bad luck, but no, I hear what you're saying. Maybe a couple of years down the track. Maybe if they had said in 2 years' time, this is what's going to happen. That's fair enough. The other thing, I think it's a great idea, but that would
have even been okay.
I think probably don't give them double the points. I think maybe just keep it 4 points each, no matter what. I think eventually the women's game they'll put more games into the home and away anyway. So I think just start it with the 4 points, rather than have to change it again later. I think I'd much rather do that. I think it'll do wonders.
Is the women's team exactly half the size? Is that kind of the rationale? I
think so. Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly that way, but look, I think it's going to be really good for our for everyone who maybe doesn't really pay attention to the AFLW to start giving it a bit more attention, especially if there's something really big like a trophy on the line, which has a bit of meaning. Now, the McClellan Trophy, no one cared about that, but maybe now we do, and I'm sure a lot of the players will be keen to share a bit of the coin that gets thrown around as well. Mate, now I want to move on to there's a red-headed fella called Ed Sheeran that went bonkers on the
Cameron Ling.
Not Cameron Ling, it's his brother or his cousin from over in the UK. But he absolutely tore up the surface of the MCG, and it's in a horrible state at the moment. Is it going to be ready for round one? Because I think you and I are both aiming to get there for round one on the Friday night.
Unfortunately, I won't be able to get there for round one.
You're kidding?
I'm not.
Oh well.
I'm going to be trying to pull some strings, but I'll have a very unhappy wife if I do. Because I've got a work commitment the very next night.
Save your brownie points for later in the year, mate. I think
it's exactly how 2023 worked out for me.
I will represent the Hoop Show at the game. Don't worry.
Yeah, I suspect I may not be there, but I'm going to try.
But will the ground be ready? Will the ground be ready round one?
Yeah, that's what
they
knew.
Non-story?
They knew what they were in for. They were planning for it, and we see regular photo updates and we see how that thing's being laid. So, and not to mention, and it's a thing that I only learned about this week, like there is a degree of synthetic that is built into all of the turf these days anyway, which just helps prime it and keep it ready to go. So, I didn't know anything about that, but I heard it this week. I can't even remember where I heard it, but that was an interesting little tidbit, and it will help. It means that they can do a lot of work in the back end and have that synthetic there to help prop the whole thing up. So, it'll be cherry ripe for Thursday night for the D's for the Tigers and the Blues, and then us the following night against the Pies.
Well, hopefully the first game they don't tear it up again for us. Now I will be getting my pole position at Fed Square so I can get ready to walk with Joel Selwood across the bridge. Apparently he's leading the march, the Geelong Throng. That's what we should call ourselves, the Geelong Throng. maybe not.
No.
But anyway, we'll be walking to the G, and then Selwood I'll say goodbye to Joel. I'll say, thanks, mate. Nice to chat with you for the last 30 minutes while we walked.
You come on behind the play.
Come on behind the play if you can. And he'll
Grease
be
some palms, mate. You got to do the work for us.
I've got to try harder. I've got to work harder behind the scenes, mate. And he'll be doing his lap of honour. So that'll be good. Carry the flag, I think, or something like that. Maybe the trophy. We'll see. So that'll be exciting. And I'll hopefully get a reasonable set. I'm not sure where we're sitting. Level 2, I think. So I'll try and get some photos and I'll post them on the Twitter. Now, there's just a couple more. There's a joint CBA. This is, again, sort of involving the women's game.
Yes.
But I'm not sure if you've heard about this one, but they're talking about the potential for a joint collective bargaining agreement where the men will take 85% of the cut and the women 15%. I'm not sure if that'll stay that way forever, but that's what they're sort of angling at. Any thoughts on that? Is that the right way to go, or is it too early in the piece, similar to the combined club championship thing? What are your thoughts?
Look, I know the masses would want me to say 50-50, and I hope that we get to a point where it can be a 50-50 split. But obviously, as things stand in 2023, the bulk of the money comes through the men's competition, and so consequently, and again, this is a math thing for me. It should be proportional. And again, I hope that continues to improve over the years, and I hope that we trend towards a 50-50 split and becomes perfect. That it would completely suggest that at that stage, the men and the women are dominating, pulling equitable crowd numbers. So I hope that is the case for a whole myriad of reasons. But right now, as we stand in 2023, the men bring in all the money. Yeah. So
I think you've summed it up pretty well. That's probably my feeling as well at the moment. But I'm like you.
Bring on the women's comp though. I'm
100% a big supporter of the women's comp, and I would love to see a bit more parity as the years go by. And hopefully we trend that way. But for now, I think if we're going to go a joint CBA, I think I'm not objecting to that at all. So. Yeah, that'd be a bit of a shame. Second last one, I'll make this the last one because we've already talked about your launch invite. I've got that on my agenda here. The AFLW trade period. I don't think there's been any action on the Cats really. There's a couple of other big names from other AFLW players moving, but nothing's really happening in Geelong land really. It's
been pretty quiet so far. Chatting to, I guess showing the hand a little bit for people going forward, but Kate Darby, AFLW Geelong player, is on behind the play in the coming weeks and months.
Cracker of an
and
episode.
we were having a bit of a chat to it. What was that? Sorry,
that was a cracker of an episode. I listened to that one the other day. I get the little sneak peek, so I have a little bit of a listen. But that was a fantastic one. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah, I was very happy with how it went too. So again, people, if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, that'll get you early access. So please make sure to let's do it.
I'll chuck it up this
coffee.
week.
That's all it takes for a month.
That's right.
But having a chat to her, she didn't feel like anything was going down. Now, of course, it's a trade period, so things pop up out of nowhere. That's how we, come to lose certain players, like a Cooper Stevens, for example, players that kind of seemingly disappear out of nowhere. But I'll back her in. I don't think now that all clubs have established in the comp, I think it'll be a little slower this year. So
okay.
She didn't expect anyone to go. She seemed to be more of the mind that maybe someone will come, and she didn't She wasn't hinting at anything, but she was more hopeful that we'll make additions rather than subtractions.
No one really knows, do they? Except maybe the players that are thinking about it. So
exactly,
we don't want to lose Georgie Prasparka. She's the one that scares me every trade.
And AMAC as well.
AMAC's here to stay, I think, anyway. But Georgie's we've got a sister. Will she go to Essendon? Who knows?
Yeah, that's a reasonable concern.
All right, mate. I think we're due to wrap up the show now. As if you haven't already done so, and hopefully you've enjoyed the content tonight. I've had a lot of fun talking about the Cats. It's always good chatting with Paul about the Catters, and these shows are really fun. We only do them. We do one at the start of the year, and we'll do one at the end of the year as well. But we might do a mid-season review when we've got a little bye round as well. But if you haven't already, please like and subscribe. As I said, we're really trying to build our subscriber base. We're hoping to nudge 1,000 by the end of the year, which will be exciting. And Paul, you touched on your Behind the Play show. There's a pretty big guest, which I sort of hinted at before. I might have bumped him up the order a little bit, but he's coming on Tuesday night. He's a premiership player for the Catters.
Yeah. You had me thrown off before. Sorry, when mate. You were saying what you're saying. So we've got Brian Myers.
We need to talk
on Behind the Play this week. I saw it on the YouTube back end, so that's kind of how I had that kind of bubbling along. But yeah, this Tuesday, Grind Mize is going to be on the show, so you can catch that on the YouTube channel. You can catch it on the Behind the Play podcast feed as well. The numbers on the podcast feed version have been quietly fantastic, considering I haven't put out an episode in about 6 months.
Wow.
It's like things have just been gently trucking along. There's been there's clear new subscriptions, because you then see this beautiful little spike of someone who goes and downloads every single episode that's released so far, all in one hit. And then you just see classic episodes bobbing up from time to time. So it's been really, really great to see in the off season. And now that we're going to start getting a regular clip of guests going forward, and headlined by the likes of Brian as a recent, freshly anointed premiership player. Onwards and upwards.
And
get around the show.
Will be a premiership player at the end of this year, and Brookie Plummer, she'll be another one as well. And
then we've got awesome guests like Terry Degani and more coming on the show in the future as well. So
all that sort of stuff. A few other big names which you may or may not know, but it's good. It's a great show. So check that one out. Now, Anna was a late out for today, but she'll be back.
Unwell.
She'll be back unwell. We've given her the week off, so she'll be back.
She said she had a wedding, so I think she's just clearly had a bit of a bender last night.
The dodgy seafood or something. I don't know what it was, but maybe
bit too much booze.
So rest up, Anna. We're thinking of you. We hope you get better soon. All that sort of stuff. Now I'll be back on the show. Well, not this kind of. Well, I'll be the standalone, the Han Solo on Wednesday. For my Wednesday show. So hopefully you'll check that one out. It's a bit of a shorter version. It's like a 15-minute kind of version. And if you haven't already, we've got 2 tipping comps going this year. We've got a free one. I think we'll do like a $50 Cat Shop voucher or something like that at the end of the year. So check that one out. I might leave the link for that in the show notes. And there's a...
Do you need me to join these?
Mate, we need everyone to join it, mate. Because more people to beat.
And I'm not even talking about like if I win. Sorry, when I win.
More people to beat is what we need.
I'll offer the $50 gift voucher to the person who comes second.
Thank you very much. I'll do that too. If I win it, I'll give it to the second place person. And we have a high roller version of the tipping competition as well. Which, when I say high roller, it's $10. So if you want to actually part with $10, I know it's big money. But we do acknowledge other people are in other comps as well. So, but if you want to be in the Hoops High Rollers comp, we'll leave the link for that as well. Paul, it's been a fantastic show. Probably our best show. It's only our second show, but it's probably the best one we've done so far. 10 out of 10, mate. Hopefully everyone else feels the same way. Let us know in the comments. Give us some love. And until next time, go Cats.
See you later.